All right. Yes, we are live. Cool. Well, thanks everybody for joining us today. My name is Caitlin. I'll be hanging out in the background, and Lori Barth. Which one is it? Barth? All right, it's going to be talking to us today about the Blog 2.0 themes. So, Lori, take it away.
Hello, everybody. Nice to be here. We are talking about our recent upgrade to the Gatsby blog theme. We released 2.0 just about a week, maybe a week and a half ago. And I thought it would be a great opportunity to come on stream and just kind of make a site with it. And we're going to show off lots of cool new fun features and hopefully answer some questions along the way. So without further ado, let's get started. So I am starting here with Gatsby starter, specifically the Hello World starter. So there's not much magic here. The only thing we really have is we've already downloaded the dependencies for a Gatsby site, which is Gatsby React and React DOM. We have a very simple index page, and we have an empty Gatsby config file. So nothing too fancy happening. And we can go ahead and run that. And we'll have a live site, and it's going to say just what it said a second ago. It's going to say hello world, our traditional software engineering terminology. There we go. So this is all we have right now. Really nothing else is going on. And that's great. So it's the perfect basis on which to start creating our blog site. So the first thing we want to do is we want to install Gatsby theme blog. And under the hood, that's going to install a whole bunch of other things, because the way that themes work, if you're not familiar with them, is that they have their own Gatsby config file, which means there's a whole bunch of plugins that our theme is composing for us. In this case, it's things like Gatsby image, Gatsby plugin MDX. It has Gatsby plugin theme UI, the Sharp transformers. It's got a whole bunch of goodies. And our goal here is that it's basically an extension that our Hello World site can use to all of a sudden have blog functionality built in from the very, very start. So that's exciting. And while this is downloading, I'm going to start doing some of the setup we need to make this work. So I've tried to make this pretty big. Let me know in the comments if you need me to make the font size larger. There's a few things that we need to start with right away. So this is our Gatsby config file. We have installed Gatsby blog theme. So we need to add it to our config file. And another piece of the puzzle, which is available in our README right here for the theme blog. Another piece of the puzzle is that there's some site metadata that our blog theme makes use of. It makes use of the title of our site. It makes use of our author name. It makes use of the site URL, and it makes use of these social arrays. It also makes use of description. So all these things. I'm actually going to borrow this for a second because there's no reason not to. And just use this as a dummy for what we want. It's got Twitter. It's not a very exciting title, so I'm going to say live stream blog. And I'll make this Lori B. Now, the title is going to show up on the top of our screen. The author is going to show up in our bio, which we'll talk about in a second. The site URL is actually particularly interesting because we won't realize it's being used at all. And I'll explain that a little bit later when we talk about SEO. And then in the footer of our page, we make use of things like the Twitter link and the GitHub link. So everything is live. We've saved off these features and this site metadata. So let's run the site and see what we got. Do, 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 do. I should have like a loading music. Now that we don't have to install stuff anymore, we'll be able to keep this running the whole time because we can use Gatsby admin to restart when we need to. So our site still works. Ooh, there's all of a sudden some color here. I wonder why that is. But actually, we can't see anything yet. And that's because we already have this source pages / index. So this is our landing page. And by default, the Gatsby theme blog is set up to use the index or the path / as its landing page. Well, we already have a landing page, so let's change that. We can make use of options. Sorry, this is me being bad at typing. So we can make use of the options that we pass to our theme. And in this case, one of the options we can use is base path. And I'm going to make it /blog. And I need to remember to add commas or this will not work. There we go. I'll collapse this so we can see it a little bit better. And what this means is that the landing page that our blog theme is giving us is going to be at the path /blog instead of / because we already have a page at /. So we can run this all over again if we want, but it's still not going to make a big difference because there's nothing to see yet. This is where we get to actually make use of the fact that all the functionality for creating our blog is built into this theme. Since it's built into this theme, there's content and there's posts. This is a directory structure that the blog theme is working off of. If you wanted to change this path, you could, but I'm just using the default. And so I'm going to add a file called myfirstpost.md. This is actually an MDX file. The theme will treat it as that, whether or not you want to use .md or .mdx as the extension. We're ignoring this. It's just mad because this isn't a valid file structure yet. So we're using these little dashes to delineate the front matter in our post. This is a structure that you need to follow because it's what the blog theme is expecting to see in order to create all of these pages. So it's expecting to see a title, which we're going to say is my first post. And it's expecting to see a date, and today's date is July 21st. We're just going to put a little bit of content there. So now let's rerun, and we should be able to see this post available on our listing page, which is going to be found at localhost/blog. There we go. Ta-da! And just like that, we have a blog. That's it. That's all there is to it. The stream is over. Thank you very much. I'm kidding. So this is showing us just how easy it is to get that original functionality. But one of the things I want us to notice is there's this bio that appears on each of the blog pages as well as the listing page. Oh, maybe it's not on the listing page. I've forgotten things. So it's not really what we want to say because I don't know who Jane Doe is. The best part about themes is shadowing. And if we go into the repository where the theme was originally created and look at the component that's creating that piece of the site, it's called bio content. And it looks like this. And it specifically says, change me. This is all quite default. So we're going to change it. Inside source, we're going to make a folder called Gatsby theme blog. The point of this is that it matches the folder structure here. Inside of it, you're going to put components. And inside of that, you're going to make a file called biocontent.js. And I'm just going to lift this whole thing, and we'll start changing what we feel like changing. Words by me. Twitch streamer extraordinaire. I'm terrible at spelling. That's probably not right, but it's okay. And this is still running. I might have to restart this. And it's also possible that I did this wrong, which is always fun. And then you get to see me debug it. Also, I do want to note that if you want to follow along with this, I have put this, this source code online. I'll put it in the chat right now. So if you want to follow along, Gatsby theme blog, components, bio content, da, da, da. All right, so words by me, Twitch streamer extraordinaire. Ta-da, it worked. The other thing that's happening here is it's using a hidden avatar. And what's really nice about the blog theme is that it's set up in a way that you can just shadow the avatar without having to change anything else, as long as you name the file appropriately. So you can see this in the example. Clicking on the wrong things. Oh, did I not change it in here? I should do that. But you can go into any place that has images. Where did I put this? Assets. There we go. And grab whatever you want and call it avatar.jpg. We're going to do this after because I realized I did not pull up an avatar ahead of time. So we've shadowed bio content and we have our first post. And our first post is pretty simple. So let's make it fancier. Let's pretend that this is a first post all about teaching people technology. So I'm going to add a code snippet block, whatever you want to call it here. Let example equal Twitch. Const something equals true. I'm just making stuff up. But all of a sudden we have a pre-styled code snippet, which is nice and useful and makes it a lot easier for people to follow syntax. Now, one of the things we added in Gatsby Theme Blog 2.0 is that you don't have to use this coloring out of the box if you don't want to. In fact, Theme UI has a bunch of things built into it called Prism presets. And in these Prism presets are a bunch of different names of things you can use. These are built into Blog Theme 2.0, so you can select whichever one you want. Prism Ocadia is the most accessible one, so that's what I'm going to choose for this example. And the only thing I need to do to make use of this is pass the name into our site. Using the options, it'll get passed all the way to the thing that needs to know about it. And because we're changing our Gatsby config, we do want to restart.
And Lori, we did get a question about if you can use a directory structure. So you could use nested directories according to like year, month, date, post title.
Absolutely. Yep. You can use whatever structure you would like. I'm actually going to do an example in just a second where we have a post that's inside another directory instead of at this top level. But yeah, no, that's a really good question. So as soon as we pass in Prism Ocadia, these are different colors. So it's using that built-in preset, and you have all of these available to you, or whatever you want to make yourself, since you can require them directly. You can also change the overall look of your site the same way. We added the ability, there's a default set of themes that are getting passed into your theme for you. There's a default set of theme UI themes, lots of words theme here. But if you don't want to use that and you want to use your own, you can as well. Now, there's a community user that created what I think is the coolest thing ever, and it's called Theme UI Sketchy Preset. And so I'm going to use that as our example. And I should actually use the install word. So we're going to install Sketchy Preset, and then we're going to pass it into our blog theme as the preset. So Prism preset is just for your code snippets, and preset is for your entire site. The other thing that this Theme UI Sketchy Preset is designed to do is it's designed to work with a specific web font. And because of that, we're going to use that as well. And you can just pass a web font URL and it'll be included for you. So the web font URL we want to use is this one. I think I copied that correctly. Yep. Except I don't need this little slash. Cool. So now so what this is doing is it's using a preset that's going to override the preset that was passed in by default that we didn't even see. It's going to use a web font URL that's going to change the font on the entire page. And it's going to use Prism preset, which will override any Prism specification in this preset theme. So it's composed in a certain way. And if we did any local shadowing, that would be the most specific. So as we mess around with this, we're going to see kind of cooler uses, but you can see right away that it changes the look and feel of your site, which is awesome. So one of the other things that we added was image support. And what's nice about it is that you can do it two different ways. I've taken the opportunity to grab a Unsplash image, and I'm going to use the URL. And I can also use image alt, which we recommend because we want our sites to be accessible. It will default to the snippet or excerpt of the beginning of your blog post. But if you want to be more specific, you can say something like colorful laptop sitting on a desk with a screen exposed. And while it's generating the image, we'll be able to pop over here and all of a sudden it shows up. So that's the external URL option. There's also an internal URL option, and this is what someone was asking about earlier. Can you do embedded directories? And the answer is yes. So you can make a directory called Learning Gatsby, for example, and add an index file into it. Again, we need front matter. So we're going to call this blog theme 2.0. Oops. And we'll say the date is tomorrow, just so they're not the same. And we're going to want an image, and the image alt is just going to be blog theme 2.0. Now, there is no image here. I'm going to drag it over. Just one second. I had this ready to go. I cheated. And we use it as a relative path. So ./2.0.png. This.
Hey, Lori, can you increase your font size a little bit? We did get a request.
Sure. How's that?
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So as this is generating, we should be able to go back to blog. And now we have blog theme 2.0, which also renders. So the image tag is the same, which is really nice. gives you the opportunity to use both an external URL or a relative path to your image. Now, the best part about this is that you now have images for SEO. So if we wanted to inspect this site and look at the console, scroll all the way up and look at the head tag, which is where this information shows up. And you'll notice that we have a lot of meta tags that are assigned for us, which is how SEO or search engine optimization works. So it says it's a website type. It says I'm the creator. It's pulling the description of the page. It has a title. It also has this image. So previously, when you shared a link to your blog using blog theme on Twitter, for example, it would just be this kind of like fake document type image. And now it'll actually pull the image from your site. Now, in particular, if you don't like the look of this and you don't want images to exist on your posts, but you do want them to exist when you share it on social media, you can make use of the social image key. What this will do is it's going to pull it out of this page, but it's still going to appear in the metadata as that social sharing image. Gives you a lot of ability to change around what you want to do and what level of kind of visualization you want to include. If you're just kind of a text-only blog person, that's cool as well. So I have done a lot of things very quickly, and I have plenty of other things that I can play around with, but I wanted to take this opportunity to ask people if there were any specific things they wanted to see, questions they had about some of these new features, etc. How could one apply custom CSS to only blog posts while using the existing theme? For example, if I wanted a markdown.css file to nth child 0, change the float direction of consecutive images in my blog content. So I'm gonna want a few more specifics on that question. Are you saying you want global styles on your site and then the blog theme only has its specific theme UI CSS? Or are you saying the other way around where you want the global styles to apply? Because my website actually does this. I'm going to wait for him to answer specifically that question, but I do want to say the blog theme is using theme UI out of the box, and theme UI operates in a couple of different ways. So the theme that you are passing in are the set of styles that get applied to your markdown, to all of your MDX files. Alternatively, there's also some theme UI styles that are built into these pages that we've already created for you, like the listing page. That being said, none of these styles have to be used in your larger site. In fact, on my personal site, none of them are. But if you find this frustrating and you'd rather just use global styles entirely and not worry about any of this, there's the ability to turn this off now, which didn't used to exist. So instead of having a default preset or overriding the preset, you can pass false. And when it sees false, it's going to realize that you don't want any of its styles and you want to create the styles entirely yourself. So we're still going to have the web font URL and we're still going to have the Prism theme, but we're not going to have any of the other styles. Yeah, so Taylor, the source code tells you what each component is doing. We've tried to be, see, it looks different now. This still works, but everything else is no styles. We've tried to be really good about adding additional information in the README to tell you what you get for free, to tell you what options you have, what fields are available, the image behavior, how styles work, etc. We are still working on better ways to expose what components are available for you to shadow. One of the things I want to talk about a little more explicitly, because I think it is actually the most confusing piece of this puzzle, is how styles work. So I talked about the fact that under the hood, there's a default style theme UI preset that's going to work off of all of your posts. And I talked about the fact that you can override that by passing whatever you want or turn it off with false. Now, if you override it, you still have the option of using local styles, which is the idea of creating a Gatsby plugin theme UI directory and putting index.js inside of it and saying I'm going to export const colors it's got to be default. Let's say, oh God, I don't even remember what a good one to do would be. Let's try tomato. Let's see if we make it all tomato, if that'll show up. Yes, I will talk about skip nav in just a moment. See, so the local styles are now making all this color tomato, and that would, if I had turned on sketchy preset again, that would just deep merge automatically. So one of the things you used to have to do is you had all of these shadowed files for Gatsby plugin theme UI, and you would have to import the original colors.js, for example, and then import deep merge and then merge them together. You don't have to do that anymore. Any of your local styles will be merged for you automatically in the background. And if you want to override specific things, you can do that out of the box, and you don't have to worry about making sure that the other stuff is still accounted for. Now, the skip nav is important. So this is a really great piece of research that Madeline Madeline Parker, who is our accessibility expert, and Marcy Sutton, who had done a ton of research and user research on this, introduced this idea of skip nav and skip to content, which is how you deal with single page apps and JavaScript apps, where you you continually re-render pages and you put users at the top. And so they link and always have to go through the navigation, for example. Skip nav gives the ability that when you tab, the very first thing you get on the page is skip to content, which you can click and it'll move you down to the main content. In this case, the main content puts you on that image, so it's not quite as stark as it could be, but it's built into Blog Theme 2.0. If you end up overriding the header, which I think is something people do quite often, you'll want to add it manually. You can look at how it's put in the theme originally and how it's built into the header. Skip nav link. The skip nav content is always in the body. So if you just need to re-add it, you can import it and put it up here or wherever you want. There's great examples that are in the README links of how to do this so that you don't lose out on this great accessible by default functionality. The other thing I wanted to note is if you decide that Blog Theme 2.0 isn't what you want, it's got too much shadowing that you're going to have to do, we've made a pretty big change, which is Gatsby Theme Blog Core, which has always existed, used to just be giving you data. It now comes with built-in components that lists the posts or is the actual post template, and they come with class names so that you can style them directly. This gives you the ability to use all of the blog theme data layer functionality and a whole bunch of the other nice syntactic sugar, but you don't have to use the full theme blog if you're going to end up overriding a ton of things. Keep in mind that Blog Theme Core doesn't have theme UI built in at all, so you would be doing all of the styles yourself, but that's, perfectly fine for a lot of people, and that's a better option. The other thing I want to note is that the old blog theme used to have the light mode, dark mode toggle. We took that out for a couple of reasons. The main reason being that if you ever tried to use a theme that didn't have dark mode, you had to create it, which meant that there were a whole bunch of these beautiful styled presets that you couldn't make use of. It would break the site. So Gatsby theme blog dark mode still exists. You can still use this light dark mode toggle, but it's available as a parallel theme. And you install it alongside Gatsby theme blog, and it all of a sudden puts that light dark mode toggle in your header. I'm trying to see if there are other questions. If you have an image but no social image, will the image show up on social media links, or do you need to include the social image as well? Yeah, absolutely. So the image is what appears on social media always. The point of the social image is if you want a different image. So if you wanted one image on your blog site, on your blog post to show up, and then you wanted a smaller version that you thought would be better on Twitter, you could use an additional social image. If you didn't want an image on your post and you wanted something to show up on social media as an image, you can use social image. But if you don't have social image, it will default to that image. So you don't have to worry about duplicating them. Did that answer that question? Awesome. Okay, so what other fun things can we do? Because we're here and we can. So let's add some other fun content. So this is one of the most meta things I've ever done, and I didn't know about it until recently. Sometimes you want to show an example of what a code fence in MDX looks like, and you can't do that because MDX will treat it like a code fence. And so if you use, why do I keep typing JavaScript that way? So if you use 4 of the backticks and then put the typical stuff in there, I don't know, I just think this is particularly funny that this works. See, and now it's an example of a code fence, like it would be in Markdown. Random things I learned. Thank you, John. Let's take this opportunity to install Gatsby theme blog dark mode.
Hey, Laura.
Yeah.
We did get another question from Deuteru that was, are social images processed through Gatsby image modules?
Yes, they are. So social images, if people want to see kind of how this works under the hood, I'm happy to talk about that. So Gatsby theme blog core, if you go into source and templates and look at the post query, you can scroll down and it's doing an image query with Gatsby image, with the transformer. And then it's doing social image with the transformer as well. So it's using Sharp to process these things so that you can choose kind of whatever you want. And I'm going to add in, I'm going to make this a little smaller just for a second. Sorry, so I can see what I'm doing. And we're going to add in Gatsby theme blog dark mode. We're going to run Gatsby develop. Yeah. I'm glad people like this. It's fun when you build things because you're like, well, there's lots of different options for what features we can give people. So we hope we give them the ones they want to use because we love how many people make blog sites with Gatsby. And we love the fact that people have been trying to make them their own. And so we wanted to give you as many tools as possible to do that. Thus all of the styling specifications and the images and things like that. So see, now we have our light dark mode toggle, which isn't actually going to do anything right now because I turned off the preset. So let me get rid of that. And then we'll restart and then we'll have, how do you find out which parts of the theme are available for shadowing, similar to the bio component? Yeah, so anything, so this is the themes repo. We are working on making this better and more visible for people. We have to figure out what that's going to look like, but you can always go to the GitHub repo and look at the source, and anything that's available in components is available for you to shadow. That's another change that we made. We broke these down into smaller pieces so that if you want to shadow the post, for example, and you just wanted to change the way the date appears, you don't have to shadow everything. You can shadow just the post date file, which is showing only the post date. Or if you wanted to change the way the image appears, you can do the post hero, the hero image, and change that. So you can do these things at a more granular level than you could before. And we have improved the semantic HTML. So all of these things are in articles and they have proper headers and sections and those kind of things. So there we go. Now we have our light dark mode toggle. Ta-da! Yeah, thank you for these questions. I love this. It's fun. It's fun telling people what we did and why. I love my little skip to content. So accessible and pretty. This went through a pretty vigorous accessibility audit. I will note that there's always room for improvement. Accessibility is never finished, but it's a drastic improvement over what we had before, and we're really proud about that. And we're hopeful that this means that out of the box, people who use this theme are making more accessible sites and making their blogs easier to read for everybody. Oh, good. We have spam in the chat today. They're not my followers. They're Gatsby followers. So I'll let Caitlin decide if she wants to buy any. Fun times. All right. What else can we do? Oh, let's do this. So one of the things I've been doing this whole time is I keep deleting this and going back to the blog listing page. And that's because I haven't shadowed the header, which means it's not actually linking to the place that I want it to link to. So I'm going to get rid of Gatsby theme dark mode because I don't want to use it right now. It might get mad at me for just commenting it out like that. I guess we'll find out. And we're going to add a header.js. And I'm going to grab the existing header.js because, again, it's kind of nice to just mess with that. This has probably more than I want here. Is it possible to do pagination similar to this format? Yes, it is possible to do pagination. I believe, let me double check this. There is a great doc on doing this. Yes. So if you go to this page, this should have a great example of doing pagination. The blog theme doesn't have direct pagination other than the fact that you can do previous next on the bottom, which you were seeing in the site. Okay, so I don't want it to go to root path. I want it to go to title, children. Meh. Maybe it's title that I want. Oh, it's up here. This is what happens. I want to go to /blog instead of the main title. I could fix that later. Okay, so it's because I'm trying to use too many things at once. This is what happens when you don't necessarily plan and you just start doing things live. Is there a beginner-friendly tutorial for setting up, or is this for someone who is more experienced? So there's a couple different ways. If you want to walk through making this without using a theme, I highly recommend using our main tutorial. This will walk you through that. If you would like to walk through doing what I just did, or a lot of what I just did in this stream, we have updated the using a theme tutorial that I will put in chat to be an example of how you can set up the blog theme and use some of these features yourself. And my hope is that it's incredibly beginner friendly, but you never know. If you have feedback, please, tweet at us or tell us what you think. We're always looking to improve our docs and improve our experience. In case anyone wanting to see the components, yep. Absolutely. Thank you for the question. Random thing that I'm going to say just because I'm on a stream. I shouldn't have my fidget thing next to me because I play with it. I can't help it. It's default. Ooh, I broke things, people. Oh, gotta love it. What did I do? Okay. I think this is just because I tried to install too many things at once. And sometimes that's a bad idea. So we're just going to undo the fact that I tried to undo a bunch of things and probably made it worse. Yeah, that should be fine. Is it possible to use Gatsby with GitHub pages? So that's actually a really great question that I don't know the answer to. I have seen GitHub pages. I obviously work with Gatsby daily. I have never tried to use the two of them together. That doesn't mean it's not possible. I can take that question back and ask the DevRel team. Oh, is there a doc for that too? There you go. This is why I love our community. They know things. Thank you so much for that. That's really useful. So I'm just going to install stuff again to fix this error that I introduced by trying to work and answer questions at the same time. Does it help to see live debugging? Is that a good example, or does that just stress everybody out?
Live debugging is always a worthwhile exercise, I think.
Worthwhile exercise. Lori did something weird. Header. Oh, good job, Lori. Okay, this has nothing to do with known modules. So when you shadow something that is a higher level parent, you need to reference its children by referencing the fully qualified path instead of doing what I just did, which was copy the example and use ./bio, which does not exist in this example. Live debugging gives me time to debug my own issues. I love it. Yeah. Okay. So what I thought was just some weirdness because I had been installing themes that were going to overlap that I didn't want to use all at the same time. Not the case. And this is actually a great example when you copy things over from the original source code, which I definitely recommend. I think it's a great way to get started with whatever component you want to shadow. Anything that's relative like this needs to change to being the qualified path here. And if I'm not mistaken, this might be wrong as well. It might need to be /source/components, but we're going to find out in just a second. Can you share the repo you are working on? Yes, I can. So this is the full live repo. Some of the stuff I'm doing right now is more than what this has, but I can add some of this to this later if that would be useful to people. Gotta love NPM when you're also running Zoom and Twitch and stuff. Polly is doing a plug for Netlify, which is always great. I also will do a plug for Firebase, which is what I use for my site. There's a lot of great options for hosting sites out there, which is amazing. And I really appreciate because it gives people options, which honestly, way back when we didn't really have that many options for hosting stuff and figuring out Apache and all of that was a pain. So I'm very grateful for all of these opportunities. And we have great docs on using a bunch of different ones. Does this theme support embedding custom components in Markdown files out of the box? Yes, it does. It's MDX. So yeah, you have an MDX renderer that's wrapping everything in your blog posts. And here we go. We've learned that Lori did this wrong. Yeah, so you have MDX and you can use whatever components you would like to. Why do I like Firebase? Because I used it a long, long time ago and I got really used to it. And now it's just muscle memory. Is that a bad answer? Okay, so did it work? No, it didn't. Let's find out why. So it's not breaking anymore. Live debugging, always fun. So Gatsby theme blog, source, components, bio. Oh, I know why it's not working. I'm not using my header in my layout. I'm pretty sure that's what the problem is.
And we have gotten a couple of other questions from Ali Pixel. It's, does this theme support embedding custom components in Markdown? Or you just answered that one, right?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Is the answer.
Then the other question was, why do you like Firebase?
Yeah, that's I'm used to it is the answer, which I know is kind of an unfair answer. But it's true. I think there's a lot to like about a lot of these things, and it's just a matter of what people find as personal preferences, which I know is kind of a cop out, but I don't know. Is that helpful? I'm sorry. Yeah, I really do appreciate these questions. We're going to see if I can get this working, because apparently I like to break things right now. What am I doing right now? I'm trying to get the header shadowing to work because I broke something along the way, and that's always fun. The first post. Live stream blog. No, I'm still not doing it. I think I don't. I definitely shouldn't have to do this. So I'm doing something wrong. Let's see. In components, it's called header.js. That is correct. Y'all, what did I break? Anyone have any ideas? You're like, this is your job, Lori. Yeah, it just goes to show that honestly, we all make silly mistakes sometimes. Do you need to change the base path? I shouldn't. Doesn't mean I don't, but I shouldn't. This should just work. And I think I've just confused the issue at this point. Yeah, because it's not finding this at all. It's okay. We can just accept that this should work and that I'm doing something wrong. Did I save it? If we just write a giant I am here, will that work? That's always a fun thing to do. Should I just add a giant console.log I am here for fun? What's in your index.js file for the homepage? Oh, I just started with a starter. So this is the hello world starter. And I very easily could have replaced this file or not had this file in the first place, in which case I wouldn't need to do any of this with shadowing the header. The reason I didn't do that is because I wanted to show an example of being able to use this as an extension for a site that already exists, instead of just working off of, instead of making it like its own site that doesn't have any potential friction. Do you use hooks with your code? If so, can you demonstrate? I do use hooks sometimes. Honestly, I don't have a great example of how I might here, just because I'm mostly working with blog posts. I could have a custom component that I created and then imported into MDX. I don't have a great idea of what I would do to demonstrate that, but use state is nice. And you can use hooks. Let's see if this consoled. Oh, there we go. Wait, no. Go away. Yeah, I know. Maybe it's that I didn't clean stuff. We're just guessing at this point, which is always a nice place to be in on a live stream. I'm giving myself lots of credibility right here. But shadowing is fun. Actually, if I wanted to, I could pull up the official themes repo. Let's do that. Okay, so this is the themes repo. We have some starter examples in here. We recently added the internationalization themes into this repo, but this is the starter that's just kind of like the example. And we are shadowing header.js in this example. So what did I do wrong, people? Let's find out. Gatsby theme blog, source, components, bio. Curious, very curious. Actually, this is a better example of what we want to do anyway. So let's steal this. So the reason this is a better example is because this is an example of adding something as a link and using the existing header. So if we do it this way, we have our existing header that's going to take us to the main page, and then we have something that's going to take us to my blog page. And yes, it is cheating to use code I have previously written, and I have no problem with that. I was using hooks with fetch and was nicely surprised Gatsby didn't break, and it's not all about rendering HTML. Yes, yes, great examples. So there we go. Now we have my blog showing up in the header, or I can go back to the main page. So it works. I don't know what I was doing before. But. And then if we remember from the beginning, when we put stuff in site metadata, you can go to the Twitter page that we had in site metadata. You can go to the GitHub page that we had in site metadata. You get all of these nice things. Is there multi-language support? So that's actually a really great question. There is not multi-language support directly in the blog theme, but in the repos, the themes repo, there are other themes available, and some of them, many of them, are internationalization themes that my coworker Leonard has been working on, and they're really incredible. So definitely check those out if you're looking for internationalization options. Themes can be used together, so you can use an internationalization theme and a blog theme, and it should work quite nicely. I'm happy to answer all other questions, but I might just start poking around and doing weird things. So this is the next and previous buttons that are built in, by the way. I'll get rid of this. I'm curious about the process of updating the theme when the next version arrives. How should we do it? Yeah, so this is what's great about using themes versus using a starter. Themes are designed to be a plugin, or they're an NPM package. So they upgrade whenever you want them to. For example, this is Gatsby theme blog 2.0 that I've installed. If I was previously using 1.6, I could have upgraded the package, and everything would have been ready for me to start working with the new features. That being said, this is 2.0, and so we made some features that are breaking changes, and we tried to be really good about talking about those things. There's migration notes in the README, which gives you some of the main breaking changes and how you'd want to go about upgrading from something like 1.6 to 2.0. The thing I will say is there's a lot of stuff that we actually released in 1.6. So the SEO and the featured images, that's all part of 1.6. A lot of the breaking changes stuff that was released in 2.0 is some sort of reorganization of the components and making those more granular, and some of the styling. So if you don't want to change any of the styles in your site, you don't want that plugin playability, you've got things the way you want them, feel free to stick with 1.6. You might not need 2.0. But 2.0 is where we introduced some of those breaking changes. When we release a new version 2.0.1 or 3.0, you'll be able to upgrade directly. And then again, there might be some migration for breaking changes when they're major version releases, but minors and all of those other things, you get that built-in functionality, which is one of the great pieces of being able to use themes. Your repo says hello world only. Does it? It shouldn't. Oh, yeah. So this repo is modeled after what we're doing right now. And if you run localhost 1000 in my example right now, it says hello world only. The main page you want is at the URL /blog. And that is a miss from the README of this example. So I will make sure to add that after we get off this stream so that people don't have that challenge. Because yeah, there's really nothing. It's based on a starter. So there's nothing at hello world. There shouldn't be. Everything's at the /blog. And if you wanted to get rid of the index page, so let's do that now. This would be a great example. So I'm going to get rid of this. And I'm going to get rid of the base path. And I'm going to restart everything. And now everything should be available at my index, my home page, base path. And again, I could have done that from the beginning. I wanted to give people an opportunity to see what happens if you add this functionality to an existing site instead of a brand new site, but there's no reason that you can't add it to a brand new site. So now this is available at the base path as well. So this is probably where I'm going to wrap up. I'm happy to answer any questions. You can always tweet at the Gatsby account, or we have Discord as well. There are lots of avenues for asking questions. I would really encourage you to look at some of the updated docs, like the README and the tutorial. We took a lot of effort to make sure that everything is up to date so you can use these new features. And yeah, I really appreciate you joining me and watching me fumble my way through stuff every once in a while. But we're excited to see what you do with this, and we can't wait to read all of the incredible posts that you write.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lori, for going over this. We are having office hours this Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Our CEO, Kyle Matthews, will be joining us for a live Q&A. And, he'll be answering whatever and any questions you want to bring, so you won't want to miss that. And we'll be trying to have office hours every Thursday at 2 Eastern. So thanks again for joining us. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Kelly, for captioning. If you don't follow us already on Twitch, now's a great time to do that. And we'll see y'all later.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.